I recently sat down and looked at over 415 suburbs in the Brisbane market. Now, from doing this, I found 5 suburbs that look absolutely phenomenal leading up to the 2032 Brisbane Olympic Games. Now, the first suburb I wanted to look at is a suburb called Joyner, which is 21 k's from the city on the northern side of Brisbane. Now, according to CoreLogic, this suburb has only gone up by an average of 3.91% per annum over the last 10 years, compared to the longer term average of over 9.5% per annum, according to homely.com. Now, there are suburbs in Brisbane that have literally done between 40 and 70% growth in the last 3 years, but Joyner has just done 16.25%. On top of this, there are suburbs in Brisbane that have done between 5 and 25% growth in the last 12 months, but this suburb has done less than 1%. Now, when I see a suburb with an average 12-month, 3-year and 10-year growth rate, which is sitting well below the market average, it shows to me a little bit of blood in the water and an undervalued product. Now, Joyner currently has a rental vacancy rate of just above 1%, which means it's chronically undersupplied from a rental perspective. On top of this, people in the suburb earn an absolute fortune, and according to the 2021 census, they were already earning over $120,000 per year per household. Now, when we look at this beautiful 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car garage home that recently sold in Joyner on a massive 650 square meter block, you can see as we click through the photos that the property's in incredible condition. Now, for this property selling for just over $1 million, it is well below replacement value. In fact, 600 square meter pieces of land without a house on it, 20 kilometres further up the road on the north side of Brisbane in suburbs like Morayfield and Caboolture are selling for over 600k. And then you add the replacement cost of a massive home like this being over 550k, it is well below current replacement value in the area. You can see looking through the property that it's super low maintenance, tenant ready and nice and tidy. There would be absolutely nothing to do for a property like this one outside of general maintenance and wear and tear in the next 5 to 10 years. Which is why I don't just love this suburb, but I love these higher quality properties that are selling below replacement value today. Now, the second suburb I wanted to educate you on is Park Ridge on the southwestern side of Brisbane. Now, Park Ridge is currently 26 k's from the city and in the last 10 years has done under 5% per annum, which is again well below that longer term average according to Simon Priestley and homely.com. Now, the example of a home I wanted to show you that recently sold in Park Ridge for just $795,000 is another 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car garage, brick, tile, slab on ground, extremely low maintenance, tenant ready home. Now, while this property is on a slightly smaller piece of just 375 square meters of land, it is in great condition. When you look through the photos, you can see it's got a great modern open living, dining, kitchen area that's absolutely set and forget. On top of that, the owner that sold that property not only repainted the entire joint, but replaced the fans, put in new downlights, and it looks like they replaced a lot of the cabinetry in the property as well. Again, while the land is on the smaller side, I think properties like this are significantly below their long-term average. In fact, according to the analysts in the Australian Financial Review in a 2023 article, the average 800k property in Brisbane could be worth as much as $1.2 to $1.4 million in just 6.5 years time from now at the 2032 Brisbane Olympic Games. Now, the third suburb I wanted to look at is again in the northern side of Brisbane and it is called Warner, and this suburb is just 21 k's from the CBD. Now, Warner's extremely connected from an infrastructure perspective with some of the best schools in Brisbane, great rail and great major arterial roads running into the CBD like the M1. Warner, being on the northern side of the city, also has the benefit of just a short drive up to the Sunshine Coast for that lifestyle on the weekend, as well as the benefit of the $5 billion rail project which will finally connect Brisbane into the beaches of Caloundra on the southern side of the Sunshine Coast over the next 10 years. Now, the property that I wanted to show you looks much more like something out of Sydney than it does out of Brisbane, and that's because it's a massive double-story brick and cladded home which is 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2-car garage on a massive 640 square meter piece of land. Now, while this home sold for just over $1,050,000, the replacement value on something like this in today's market, by the time you buy the land and build the home, would be well over the $1.3 million mark, which shows me that this property is extremely well priced and has longer term potential for growth over the next 15 years. Now, again, this home's in extremely good condition, but for the savvy investor, there might be the potential longer term in 15 years just before you sell this place to tidy up the cabinetry, to maybe replace the kitchen, put some nice flooring in, replace the blinds, give it a little bit of a coat of paint and some flooring, and not just get the natural uplift that comes with the market, but through a nice cosmetic renovation, really create a beautiful property. Now, the fourth suburb I want to take a look at is one of my favorites, and that's good old Arana Hills in the Hills district of northwest Brisbane, just 10 k's as the crow flies from the CBD. Now, pound for pound, outside of some of the beachside suburbs in Brisbane, this is one of the highest quality, most undervalued pockets of the CBD in Brisbane right now. Now, you can come into the likes of Arana Hills or the neighbouring suburbs and still get really large pieces of land with good quality or great properties for between that $1 to $1.4 million mark. Now, what I love about this area is there's such a high number of owner occupiers. In fact, in most of these suburbs, it's between 70 and 90% of the people living there are mums and dads, which means an extremely small number of investors. On top of this, people in the Hills district earn a fortune on average, but the house prices are still relatively cheap in relation to incomes, which based on history in Sydney and Melbourne gives investors extremely strong prospects for longer term growth. Now, when we have a look at Lotus Place in Arana Hills, you can see that this 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 4-car garage home is on a massive 831 square meters of land. Looking through the photos, again, it's extremely neat and tidy with absolutely nothing to do for the first 5 or 10 years outside of the general wear and tear on the property. Now, when I first started personally as an investor back in 2011 buying properties in Sydney and the Central Coast, I was always looking for renovators, but after buying 19 properties myself over the last 15 years, I've found that I actually really want higher quality, larger homes on bigger pieces of land in the better quality suburbs that I can afford around the country. Now, the reason for this is through my personal experiences. Although you might be able to save 50 or 100K on the way in by buying a lower quality property, it generally cost me significantly more in renovation and maintenance related costs within that first 10 years of that holding period. I think in a pre-COVID market, we were heading to smaller blocks and smaller homes is what the average Australian was looking for, or at least that's what the developers were creating for us. But post-COVID, we do love big pieces of land and nicer quality homes with maybe an extra room for a kids retreat, an at-home office, or when guests come and visit us, so that if we ever go through a market or a time like that again, that we've got space to stay in and enjoy as a family unit. Now, the fifth and final suburb that I wanted to share today is a suburb called Norman Park, just 4 to 6 kilometers from the CBD of Brisbane. Now, back in the good old days when I first started buying up a whole lot of Brisbane for myself and for clients around about the 2015 and 16 mark, we were very aggressively targeting suburbs like Norman Park. Now, I know there are many investors out there that are absolute balling, and this is a suburb for those sorts of guys where you get extremely close to the CBD, millions of dollars cheaper than you would in Sydney or Melbourne right now for an absolute fraction of the price. Now, Norman Park has all of the indicators that you would absolutely expect in a blue chip suburb just 4 k's from the CBD. Extremely high percentages of owner occupiers, very low vacancy rates, and massive average household incomes, as well as some of the best schools in all of Queensland in the district. Now, if we look through the photos here of this beautiful 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom, 2-car garage home, which did sell for the whopping price back in June this year of $2,750,000, you can see that this is an absolutely beautiful, brand new property, which would have cost an absolute packet to create. Like many of the higher quality, higher spec, beautiful brand new homes, it comes with some of the most beautiful flooring, stonework, and those custom pieces like the kitchen and the fireplaces that just bring that emotion and that owner-occupier vibe throughout the property. What I love with this property is the custom kitchen cabinetry, which has been beautifully designed, as well as that beautiful open living dining kitchen feel. This property has been beautifully created like so many others in the area, but there are so many different options in a suburb like Norman Park. You could go for the more affordable, unrenovated townhouse or home, or you could be stretching yourself up to the beautiful brand new properties like this one. Ultimately, after looking at over 415 suburbs in Brisbane, there is really something for anyone up here. Whether you're looking at the $550,000 townhouse closer to the city or the $5 million property with beautiful water views or CBD outlook. Brisbane running up to the Olympic Games, according to every one of the major banks and major analysts in the country, is expected to record some phenomenal price growth. And if we look back at Sydney between 1997 and 2003, prices went up almost 97% and rents almost doubled during that 7-year period running into the games. I'm super excited personally about the Brisbane market over the coming 5 to 6 years, and I'm excited to see where we end up in 2032. G'day guys, my name's Ben and I'm the director here at Pumped on Property, and I just want to say a massive thank you for watching our content today. Now, if you're thinking about buying an investment property in the next 3 to 12 months, then the team and I would love to offer you a one-on-one strategy session. In that session, we can talk about exactly where you are right now, where you'd like to be longer term, and we can deeply educate you on the Australian market. And then you can take that information and go and absolutely smash it on your own, or potentially become one of the small number of clients that we work with each week. To book your session, all you have to do is go to www.pumpedonproperty.com and click that book your free strategy session button. But either way, we wish you all the best on your journey as an investor to financial freedom.